Welcome to Episode 2 of the Fallen Phoenix Deep Dive. In this chapter set, we explore Book 1's chapters 4 through 6. Emotions flare, loyalties blur, and a prison becomes the stage for transformation. Let's rejoin your hosts, Calum and Lyra, as they dive into the heat of captivity and the power of choice.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here again, ready to cut through the noise and get right to the heart of some fascinating topics.
That's the plan.
And today, we are plunging headfirst into the world of Fallen Phoenix. It's this pretty epic 5-book series by WTP Markwalder.
Right, a big one.
And we're zeroing in specifically on chapters 4 through 6 of Book 1. And let me tell you, this stretch of the story is, well, it's absolutely pivotal.
Oh, completely. It lays so much crucial groundwork for, the character dynamics, the major conflicts. Everything that's coming later really starts to get serious here.
Exactly. We've got the source material right here, these specific chapters, and our mission for this deep dive is basically to unpack the real essentials.
Yeah, we're focusing on how these unexpected connections start forming between the main characters. There's a really raw, very impactful backstory revealed too.
And then things get intense, a surprising capture moment.
Which you don't quite see coming.
Right. And then, living up to the title, a truly, truly dramatic escape. It really showcases the main character's abilities in ways we just haven't glimpsed before.
It's where the unique aspects of Phoenix's power really come to the forefront, I think.
I agree. These chapters 4 to 6, this is where we really start to see the threads of the whole series begin to weave together. We get critical insights into who these characters are, like beneath the surface.
And the forces they're actually up against. It moves way beyond just setting the scene.
Yeah, it starts building genuine emotional stakes. You start to really feel for them,
Definitely. So let's not wait any longer. Let's dive straight into that first key section, chapter 4. It's titled Hidden in Plain Sight.
Good title, too.
It really is,
Sure.
because this chapter just throws us immediately into this really unexpected encounter. And the location is, well, it's highly significant. It's right in Anastasia's personal space.
Inside the tower building, which is meant to be like Fort Knox level secure.
Exactly, impenetrable. Or so you'd think.
It's such a jarring image to start with. Anastasia gets back to her private quarters, the one place that should be totally secure, totally hers.
Her sanctuary, almost.
Right, and she finds Phoenix already there. And he's not hiding, he's not lurking in shadows.
No, he's just waiting.
He's sitting casually in her computer chair. The source describes him with his arms crossed comfortably on the backrest, head resting sideways, eyes closed, just totally at ease.
His wings are relaxed, draped along his shoulders. I mean, the picture is one of complete relaxation in the most secure part of the enemy's stronghold.
That image alone tells you something huge about Phoenix's capabilities, doesn't it?
Absolutely profound. He doesn't seem to have forced his way in. There's no sign of struggle. It's more like he belongs there. Or at least he's completely unconcerned about the security.
His very presence, without setting off alarms, in her private room. It just completely undermines the whole idea of the tower being invulnerable.
And then his opening line, just a simple comment, nasty weather out there tonight.
It's almost absurdly mundane given the circumstances. Like, oh, hey, just drop by your ultra-secure room. Bit rainy out.
Anastasia's reaction is, well, completely understandable. She's baffled. More than baffled, she's shocked by his sheer boldness.
The source notes she actually tries to speak.
Yeah.
But at first, no sound comes out. Just pure shock.
She's trained for combat, for pursuit, for dealing with threats. But this level of confident, casual intrusion into her most private space, it catches her totally off guard.
And his explanation for how he got past security, it's even more telling, I think.
Oh, definitely. He says it was the same way he got in last time. Now, that isn't detailed right here in chapter 4, but it implies a method that's, well, it's not conventional stealth. It's not picking locks or hacking systems.
No, and the really fascinating part is why she didn't sense him or see him coming. He just says straight up, no, I didn't want you to, so you didn't.
Wow. Okay, so that's not just invisibility, that's influencing perception itself.
It seems like it. He can effectively decide if you even register his presence, which makes him incredibly difficult, maybe impossible, to track or contain using any standard methods.
That ability alone just fundamentally shifts the power dynamic, doesn't it? He's not just avoiding security, he's potentially like bending reality around himself for those nearby.
And he immediately follows that up by showing he knows what she's been up to. He mentions he knew she was trailing Agent Frank.
Right, so he's not isolated, he's plugged in, he knows about the internal workings of the organization hunting him, and specifically her connection to its agents.
And then there's that moment of concern. He asks if the rain was a problem for her because she's fire-based.
Yeah, this is where the complexity just explodes, isn't it? He's supposed to be the very dangerous target in her file, the enemy. Yet here he is, demonstrating intimate knowledge about her, expressing concern for her well-being, and entering her space not to attack, but just to
say hi. It's bizarre.
It is. This immediate display of, well, seemingly genuine interest and concern, despite their adversarial roles. It plants that first little seed of doubt, of connection. It makes you question the black and white labels the organization uses.
Which sets the stage perfectly for the really big reveal in this chapter. The interaction shifts so dramatically here, from this kind of bizarre intrusion
to deep vulnerability.
Exactly. Anastasia asks him point blank how he became a Fallen Phoenix. She notes his file is vague, just has that very dangerous classification. And this opens the floodgates.
It's a pivotal moment. It transforms Phoenix from just this mysterious, powerful, dangerous entity into someone defined by just profound trauma.
The source describes his physical reaction immediately. His head sags, his wings droop, these powerful wings, and this look of deep, deep pain fills his eyes.
This isn't just him recounting history. It's clearly a still-present agony he carries with him every single day.
And he chooses to share this deeply personal, incredibly painful truth with Anastasia, his potential hunter, the person tasked maybe with bringing him in.
He talks about a core memory, over 2,000 years ago.
2,000 years, the timescale itself is mind-boggling.
Right. He was chained up with his meat by ancient spells designed specifically to suppress their abilities.
And the horror of it?
Yeah.
He was forced to watch his mate being murdered, and he was completely powerless, chained, suppressed, unable to intervene.
He tells Anastasia, and you can almost feel the weight in the words, over 2,000 years ago, and still its cause haunts me to this day. Often have I been torn from sleep by that nightmare. I was forced to watch my mate murdered, unable to stop it.
That image, forced helplessness, while witnessing unimaginable loss, that's presented as the catalyst. That's what made him a Fallen Phoenix.
It wasn't a choice. It wasn't some dark pact. It was a reaction forged in soul-crushing trauma.
So he's not just this immensely powerful being. He's someone carrying millennia of grief. The burden of that defining moment of utter powerlessness.
And the fact that the nightmare still haunts him, still tears him from sleep after 2,000 years. That just hammers home the depth of his suffering. It's not past, it's part of his present reality.
Which brings us back to that crucial question, why? Why share this, the most vulnerable part of himself, the source of all that ancient pain, with Anastasia?
Is it a desperate plea for understanding? Does he sense something in her, maybe a capacity for empathy he hasn't found elsewhere?
Or is it, some kind of calculated risk? Though the source material and the clarification notes we have lean towards sincerity, that this isn't manipulation.
It feels like a genuine act of reaching out, trying to bridge the gap, perhaps.
Whatever his reason, the impact on Anastasia is, well, it's profound. The source says she is shaken by this new knowledge.
It's not just information, is it? It's a fundamental challenge to her entire perception of him. Seeing the dangerous target through this lens of immense ancient suffering, it makes it impossible for her to just maintain her previous mindset.
The source notes it feels like her whole world was just flipped. Her loyalties, her training, her orders. Suddenly they're all cast into doubt by this raw, painful truth from the person she's supposed to hunt.
How can you go back? How can you view someone as just a simple target after they've shared the very origin of their deepest trauma with you?
You can't, really. This moment is absolutely a turning point for her. It lays all the groundwork for the growing emotional conflict we see unfolding across these chapters.
And the encounter in chapter 4 wraps up with Phoenix rising. He says, almost casually again, that he just wanted to say hi.
And wish her luck. Luck in potentially replacing Agent Frank, acknowledging her possible role within the organization.
It's another layer of complexity. Then he bows gracefully, fades out of view,
and leaves Anastasia alone in her high security room. But her internal world is just fundamentally altered, deeply, deeply conflicted.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so after that incredibly intense, incredibly revealing encounter in chapter 4,
we move into chapter 5, which is titled News and a Shower.
And if you thought Chapter 4 was surprising, Chapter 5 takes this unexpected connection between them and adds this whole other layer of, well, almost bizarre domesticity. It's quite something.
It starts with Anastasia still processing everything, right? Her thoughts are probably still reeling from Phoenix's story.
Oh, undoubtedly.
And she gets interrupted by some external news. Her friend, Sarah, contacts her. Update. Agent Frank has a new human partner.
Right, so this is relevant background info, a professional shift within the tower hierarchy that Anastasia's involved in, or at least aware of, but it's almost immediately overshadowed, isn't it?
Completely overshadowed because Phoenix reappears. Again.
He just keeps turning up.
And this time, the context is even more astonishing. Anastasia walks into her quarters, and the first thing she notices is that scent, again lilac.
Which the source established earlier is Phoenix's specific scent. So, immediate clue he's been there, or is there.
But then she makes a truly shocking discovery. She realizes her shower is being used.
Okay, hold on. Her shower? In her private quarters?
Yep. She calls out cautiously, approaches the bathroom, finds it empty.
Yeah.
But it's obvious it was just occupied. The floor's wet, steam maybe.
Wow.
And then she turns around.
Let me guess. Computer chair.
Bingo. Phoenix. Second time in as many chapters, sitting in her computer chair. This time, though, his hair is wet.
Oh, way.
And he just states, totally casually, that he cleaned up a bit when he was waiting for her to get back.
He used her shower. I mean, the audacity. That's completely unexpected, even after the first intrusion.
Right. It defies all logic for a hunted fugitive,
Yeah.
self-preservation, low profile. None of that seems to apply here. It shows this incredible level of comfort, this casual intrusion into her absolute personal space. It's way beyond just sitting in her chair.
It really takes their dynamic to a whole new level of...
Yeah.
Informality doesn't quite cover it. Bizarre intimacy, maybe.
Something like that. And his explanation for being there, again, it's tied to her world. He says he came by to see if she'd heard the news about Agent Frank's new partner.
So once again, demonstrating his access to internal tower information. He knows about personnel changes, possibly even before she does.
It's unnerving how much he seems to know. But despite the utterly weird circumstances finding the galaxy's most wanted using your toiletries, the interaction that follows is described as surprisingly gentle.
The source specifically notes they talk, and it's a surprisingly soft moment. Now, the dialogue isn't detailed right there, but the description of the interaction, that's crucial.
It really highlights the non-confrontational, almost tender nature of their exchange in that moment.
Yeah, this informal, gentle interaction, it just further solidifies that emotional bond that started forming back in Chapter 4. It's a moment completely outside the normal hunter-hunted dynamic.
It feels like it's about connection, sharing space, conversation, in a way that just ignores the labels the outside world has put on them.
And it reinforces that idea from the clarification notes that his intentions towards her are presented as sincere, protective even, not manipulative. This isn't about gaining leverage. It feels like building a genuine something.
In this moment, it has a direct, measurable impact on Anastasia. The source explicitly says she grows more conflicted.
Makes sense. This casual, almost domestic interaction, it makes it harder and harder for her to maintain that professional detachment her job requires.
She's experiencing him not as a case file, not as a target designation,
but as a complex being, someone capable of sharing immense pain, and also capable of these surprisingly soft, quiet moments.
Then Phoenix decides to leave again. And his reason is significant, isn't it?
Very. He says it's to avoid putting her at further risk by being found in her quarters.
So again, his concern seems to be primarily her safety, her well-being within her own organization. He knows being found with him would be disastrous for her.
He removes himself specifically to shield her from that potential consequence. It's another layer showing these protective feelings he seems to have for her. It really complicates that simple enemy label.
Okay, so we go from the strange domesticity, the quiet moment of Chapter 5, and then Chapter 6 hits, titled Oh, the Cold. And the pace just dramatically shifts.
Yeah, the relative calm is shattered. We get Phoenix's capture. But even this really intense, high-stakes event, it serves to push Anastasia's emotional journey even further. It deepens her commitment to this burgeoning connection.
Absolutely. The chapter kicks off, loud alarms blaring, jolting Anastasia awake.
Her training immediately kicks in, and that detail about her higher security clearance, it becomes important here. It allows her to leave her room when the building's on high alert.
Which puts her in the right place, or maybe the wrong place, to witness what happens next.
She follows that now familiar trail, the scent of lilac.
But this time, it leads her to a massive crater blasted in a wall. This wasn't a quiet entry like before.
No, this suggests violence. Either he was captured violently, or the capture event itself was explosive. Something big went down.
The scent confirms it's him, though, and leads her deeper and deeper into the tower's infrastructure.
The source says she follows the trail down floor after floor till she was deep underground. It really emphasizes the scale of this place, the depth of its security and containment facilities.
She finally arrives at this large metal door, marked security. She puts her hand on the pad,
And her clearance works. It unlocks.
revealing what the source describes as her worst fear. Phoenix. Captured.
The scene inside is described as clinical, stark. There's this heavily guarded security pod right in the middle of the room.
And inside,
Yeah.
Phoenix. Unconscious, suspended in some kind of containment fluid.
That faint, lingering scent of lilac must be such a stark contrast to the cold, sterile environment. A place specifically designed to neutralize his power, to hold something incredibly dangerous.
Built to prevent any possibility of escape. Or so they thought.
And then, right on cue, the antagonist arrives, Agent Frank.
He appears, solidifying his role perfectly. He's in a little observation room, looking at a phoenix in the pod.
And the source specifically notes the smirk on his face. That tells you everything about his attitude right now.
Pure triumph. Malice, maybe? He speaks to Anastasia with a sneer in his voice, just relishing this moment.
And he immediately starts gloating, right? Telling her she won't be his replacement now because he's the one who caught Phoenix after all this time.
It's all about his status, his position. Anastasia asks what they're planning to do with Phoenix.
And Frank's reply is chillingly cold. He basically says she knows very well what the council intends, confirming her worst fears about Phoenix's fate.
Grim. Their dialogue continues. Anastasia snaps back that, well, now that Phoenix is caught, Frank's out of a job, right? His main mission's done.
But Frank counters, no, his job isn't finished. He still needs to find the human that was harboring him.
Okay, so they suspect Phoenix had help. They know someone was assisting him.
Right, but they clearly don't know it was Anastasia herself, or at least the extent of her contact, and they definitely don't seem to know where his actual base might be outside the tower.
The irony is just dripping here. Frank is gloating about catching Phoenix to the very person who was, in a way, harboring him in those previous chapters.
Completely unaware. And Anastasia's reaction to this whole scene, seeing Phoenix captured, hearing Frank's cruel satisfaction, knowing the council's plans, it's powerful.
She's enraged by Frank's attitude. The source says she fought not to wipe it off for him. You feel that anger.
But after Frank leaves, when she's alone, just looking at the pod, her expression changes. It shifts to a look of fear in her eyes.
She knew what the council planned for Phoenix, and the source says that knowledge made her physically ill.
That visceral reaction, it really underscores how severe Phoenix's situation is.
Yeah?
And it solidifies Anastasia's shift. Her identification is increasingly with him, not with the goals of her organization.
And like the clarification notes reminded us, she hasn't fully switched sides. Her training, her loyalty, it's still there, it runs deep.
But she's undeniably deeply conflicted now. Witnessing his capture, knowing the brutal plans, it pushes that conflict right to the edge.
And this internal conflict, this dread she feels, it leads us straight into the dramatic climax of these chapters, the transformation, the escape.
Yeah, this is where things get really spectacular. It showcases Phoenix's true power, and it further cements Anastasia's whole emotional trajectory.
So Anastasia's standing there, head hung against the glass of the observation room, just overwhelmed.
And she hears Phoenix's voice, but not out loud.
No, in her head. Telepathic communication.
Yeah.
Even unconscious, captured, suspended in that pod. He reaches out to her.
And his message, simple, but considering her distress, incredibly significant. He tells her, it's not your fault, Anastasia.
Wow. Right in her moment of fear, maybe guilt. He offers comfort. It's a direct continuation of that emotional connection they've been building. It transcends his physical state.
She looks up and sees something astonishing happening inside the pod. His body. It's changing, even though he was motionless before.
The physical changes are described so vividly. His original fire-based wings, they just dissolve away, gone.
His dark brown hair turns this vibrant blue, and then a new pair of wings starts growing from his back, smaller, sleeker blue wings.
And the mist, the containment fluid around him, it recedes back into the pod somehow.
Then a blue light starts emitting from the pod, and here's a crucial, really mysterious detail. The guards. The cyber warriors. These high-tech enforcers designed specifically for containment.
They're motionless, frozen. The source says, almost as if they had been turned off.
What is that? Some kind of power or effect tied to his transformation. Something that can just disable advanced tech or beings.
It bypasses all their security protocols.
Yeah.
Even the guards' own operational directives. It's a power they clearly didn't account for.
And Anastasia, she feels compelled, drawn towards the pod. Even though her training must be screaming danger, even with these inert guards, she approaches.
She expects them to stop her, but they stay frozen. She reaches out and touches the pod itself.
And the intense cold it's emitting causes her pain, which highlights again just how harsh this environment is for Phoenix, who's normally fire-based.
Right. Seeing him transform like this, she wonders, did they do this to him? Is this the organization trying to alter him, control him?
But Phoenix answers her thought, again telepathically. This was done by me, they only wish they knew how to do this.
Boom. Confirmation. Explicitly stated. This transformation is voluntary.
Yeah.
It's his own power, a unique ability the organization couldn't even dream of replicating, let alone understand.
Just like the clarification note stressed, he is in control of this, not them.
Then, just as Anastasia is right there, inches from the pod,
Uh-huh.
one of the cyber warriors finally moves.
Ah, okay, so not totally disabled.
It seems not. But its action is completely unexpected. It defies its programming.
How so?
Instead of stopping her, restraining her, treating her as a threat near the containment, it drops its weapon, picks her up lightly, moves her back,
Yeah.
and then stands in front of her.
Like a shield.
Exactly, as if to act like a shield protecting her.
Whoa, okay, that is huge. A machine built for containment suddenly acts to protect Anastasia, placing itself between her and the pod.
And then the pod explodes. Abundance of power and force. It completely destroys the other 5 guards.
And the one shielding Anastasia.
It's destroyed too. Its back is completely obliterated by the blast. But the source notes, significantly, it served its purpose.
Its purpose being, specifically, protecting her. How? Did Phoenix influence it? Did his transformation cause some weird feedback loop affecting its programming?
We don't know for sure from these chapters, but the outcome is clear. Anastasia was shielded from the blast by one of the guards, seemingly acting against its design.
That's an incredible detail. A sacrificial act by a machine focused on her safety.
And from the wreckage, from the shattered pod, Phoenix emerges.
He stands tall, now in that water-based form. Long light blue hair, sleek blue wings, dark blue eyes.
And his first communication, again, nonverbal, telepathic, directed straight at Anastasia. Are you okay?
Even after enduring the capture, the cold, the transformation, the explosion, his immediate concern is for her safety. It keeps reinforcing that connection.
Anastasia, seeing all this, asks again about the change, needing that confirmation, and he confirms it, done by him, not to him.
He steps down from the ruined podium and makes that interesting comment. Not sure if I'll ever get used to becoming water-based.
Yeah, what does that imply? Is this transformation new? Something he doesn't use often? Maybe it's physically taxing compared to his natural fire form?
It suggests it's not his default state, maybe something he's still mastering or finds uncomfortable. Adds another layer to his abilities.
And almost as soon as he says it, he changes back, reverts.
Right back to his original form. Dark brown hair returns, the bigger wings split into 4, red feathers, black edges, eyes back to their original color, probably that fire orange we saw earlier.
And he's free, standing there in his full power, having completely defied the organization's highest level of containment.
Using a power they didn't even know he possessed, a power he initiated, he controlled.
This escape, it's so much more than just a physical breakout, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's a dramatic reveal of a core ability, this voluntary elemental transformation that the organization is just powerless against. Completely flips the dynamic. Phoenix isn't just a hunted fugitive anymore.
No, he's a being with capabilities far, far beyond his pursuer's understanding or control.
Wow. Okay, taking that journey through chapters 4, 5, and 6, it really highlights the incredible acceleration, both the emotional stakes and the power dynamics in Fallen Phoenix. Book 1 just skyrocket here.
We started with that really startling personal revelation in Anastasia's private room. Phoenix sharing the ancient trauma that basically defines him.
Which led directly into that surprisingly soft, almost domestic moment in chapter 5. Their unexpected connection deepened, pushing Anastasia further and further into that emotional conflict about her role, her loyalties.
Yeah, it made the abstract target into this complex, almost familiar presence right in her personal space.
And then bam, chapter 6 hits with the dramatic shift. The shocking capture, Agent Frank's nasty gloating, followed by that absolutely spectacular escape.
Showcasing Phoenix's unique voluntary elemental transformation, plus that whole business with influencing the technology or the guards.
And the cyber warrior sacrificing itself specifically to protect Anastasia. That adds incredible layers to his power, and the unforeseen consequences of his actions or presence.
And all of this unfolds while Anastasia's internal world is just being fundamentally challenged, reshaped. She's seen his profound pain. She's felt a genuine connection, which he validated with that telepathic comfort.
Right, and she's witnessed firsthand his immense voluntary power, his ability to escape the highest security imaginable. She knows the organization's brutal plans for him, finds them sickening.
And she's now been directly protected by something intrinsically linked to him during his escape.
It powerfully reinforces all those key elements established in the section of Book 1, Phoenix. Not just very dangerous. He's ancient trauma, deep capacity for connection, especially with her, and powers that just defy understanding.
Anastasia, not just a loyal agent, she's someone whose whole perspective has been fundamentally altered, leading to this huge internal tension, this growing conflict between duty and empathy.
And the organization, represented by Frank in the containment tech, revealed as brutal, maybe desperate, and ultimately outmatched. Outmatched by Phoenix's true abilities.
These chapters really leave us on a knife's edge, don't they? Anastasia standing there amidst the wreckage, having witnessed Phoenix's real nature and power, and having been personally protected during his escape.
It sets up so much.
So, for you, the listener, here's something to think about. A final provocative thought building on this deep dive into chapters 4 through 6.
Okay.
Given Phoenix's proven ability, now this voluntary transformation, escaping inescapable containment, and Anastasia's undeniably deepening emotional link to him, which was just solidified by his telepathic comfort and that guard's sacrifice shielding her. What does this huge turning point mean for her future? Her role within the organization? We know she's conflicted, not disloyal yet.
Yeah.
But how long can she possibly maintain that duality after seeing all this?
That's the question, isn't it? Especially now she knows what they really planned for him and how easily he overcame it.
And how will this newly revealed voluntary power impact their ongoing dynamic? He's not just the hunted anymore. He seems almost uncontainable. How does that change things between them?
Her path forward seems incredibly uncertain now. She's caught between the organization she trained her whole life for and this incredibly powerful, complex being who's shown her unexpected vulnerability and unexpected protection.
That internal struggle, set against the backdrop of Phoenix's redefined power level. That's the really compelling question these chapters leave us grappling with.
Absolutely. It's a fantastic setup for what comes next.
It really is. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Fallen Phoenix, Book 1, Chapters 4 through 6. We hope exploring these chapters in detail gave you a richer understanding of the characters, their developing connection, and all the forces at play.
Hopefully left you with plenty to think about as the series continues.
Thanks for listening to Episode 2. From whispered doubts to fire-forged escape, the threads of fate are tightening. Keep your wings wide and your eyes sharp. We're only just getting started.